Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for August of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening this month for you. And by the way, Libra, your birthday is coming soon. If you haven't scheduled your yearly birthday reading yet, there's still time to do it before your birthday, which is the most powerful time to do it. This lets you ritualize your personal New Year's moment and jump into your year empowered to make it the best one ever. It also comes with fantastic affirmations you can use all year to create your best life. You'll find a link for it in the description below. Well, Juno starts the month in Cancer in your 10th house, Libra. And I think this is a great place to find Juno. She is, after all, known as the Queen of Heaven. That is her appellation in Greek mythology. And so she has this queenly presence. She's a real leader of people, most particularly in a social way. So when Juno shows up in your 10th house, it's going to be a really good time for leading people on teams, for consultants. If you see any consultants through your business, or if you are a consultant in your business, probably a pretty good month for your business. So this Juno in your 10th house at the beginning of the month is pretty great. And it's continued on from last month. And then on August 15th, we see Juno moving on into a new sign, Leo, right here, and adding her presence to the 11th house, which is pretty full at this point in the month, mid-month. Now, the 11th house is another place where Juno is pretty comfortable. This is the house of social networks, communities, groups, your tribe, the people of like mind you feel a sense of belonging with. And Juno is a leader of people. She weaves the fabric of society together. She's the matchmaker. She likes to connect the people who should be connected. So if you like to have a social safety net underneath you and know lots of people who generally approve of you, this is a really great transit for building that and for strengthening that and for getting out there and getting to know the people in your network, connecting with people, and in ways that can benefit both of you. So I'm a fan of this one. Juno's going to be here through the end of the month and into next month too. Now, Uranus is going to do something new this month. And Uranus is traveling along through Taurus in your 8th house. And a little bit further along the month, towards the end of the month really, the 28th, Uranus goes retrograde, and here we see it, that little red RX symbol. Now, Uranus is traveling along your 8th house in the long term. It takes this planet about 7 years to pass along through a house, and while he's doing that, he can disrupt things, he can bring some experimentation, introduce new ideas that might be startling and disruptive, especially at first, but which ultimately can lead to a shift to a whole new way of thinking about whatever arena that Uranus is traveling through. Now, this, of course, being the 8th house, is a house of the deeper, intimate, more intimate side of relating. This is a house of sharing, which we do physically through sexuality, and we do emotionally through, sharing our feelings, possibly with, a therapist or with a friend or with a partner. And this is a house of financial sharing too. So this is the house that's all about those deep, intimate bonds of trust that we form with other people. And it's also a cauldron of alchemical change, a domain of death and rebirth. So this is pretty deep territory. Uranus is traveling along it for about a 7-year period in toto, and doing a little experimenting as he goes. Now, as to whether the experimenter in the house of sex could lead to some freaky behavior, I suppose it certainly could. No reason why not. Let's just try not to get too deviant, transgressing any actual laws. Um, but, yeah. But I think that Uranus is capable of bringing amazing insight into the deep places in relationships when he passes along through this house. And one of, I think, the most important interpretations of Uranus in this house is that the eighth house is a house of the things that compel us, addictions, circumstances that feel like they're beyond our control. And Uranus can bring some detachment, which can help you to kind of detach from things that you've been feeling like compellingly caught up in. And so some of the experiments that you're doing as Uranus travels this house are experiments with things you've been addicted to, meaning particularly experiments with detaching yourself from things you've been addicted to, then this is a really great use of this transit. So then the last one I want to talk about right now is Ceres, and here she is traveling your first house. She's in your first house all month here in Libra until mid-September. And wherever Ceres goes, you want to bring a quality of good stewardship and a practical approach. Now, she is in charge of the most physical and practical aspects of our life on Earth, the food that we eat, the money that we earn and spend, and how we take care of our bodies. And when she's passing through the first house, that might feel rather personal. It might even feel like it's something that you want to take action about, or it's something that shows on your surface. So this could be a really good time for a weight loss program or a body sculpting program, something to do with how you are in your body, and that hopefully can result in you becoming more comfortable in your own skin. This also might be associated with the idea of earning strongly as a point of identity. And so you might find yourself motivated to make more money during this 2-month transit, if you can, just because it feels like a badge of honor. Hey, Julia, what's up with Venus, Mercury, and Mars?
Well, Libra, Venus, your ruling planet, so this is a very important planet in your life, starts the month retrograde. And Venus is doing this all in your 11th house. This is a house of your friends. It's a house of your long-term hopes, wishes, and dreams. And it's also the house of groups. Anytime you find yourself among a group, that is definitely the 11th house. Now, Venus retrograde is a time of relationship review in our life. Anytime a planet goes retrograde, we tend to review those planetary significations in our life. So if you are in a relationship and Venus is retrograde in your 11th house, it could mean you are looking at your relationship and reviewing it through the lens of the 11th house. So maybe you're trying to see whether you and your partner have a strong enough friendship. Or maybe you're trying to see whether you and your partner have enough long-term goals together that you guys can kind of look to the future together in terms of what ambitions you can share together. And maybe you're even, because it's the house of groups, seeing whether your partner fits in with the groups in your life. Whether they're your professional group or a crafting circle or a video game group, whatever it is, you might be looking at how your partner fits in with this. Now, if you're single and let's say you're online dating, because networks are ruled by the 11th house, you might run into some exes while you're on Tinder. That's entirely possible. Or, my other advice for the single people who are actively dating during this period is try not to make a decision about someone right away. You might go back on it because the planet itself is going backwards. So, don't rush into any commitments right now. Take things as they come. And the single people might also be reviewing their lives. Single people, a lot of them are happy being single too, and they might be reviewing 11th house matters in terms of what they want from their next relationship. So maybe you are saying to yourself, oh, I want my next partner to have a really good friendship with me because maybe that didn't work out so well last time. Now, Mercury is another planet that's going to go retrograde later in the month, but it starts the month direct in your 12th house. This is a house of secrets. This is a house of dreams and ethereal realms in your life, the subconscious even. Mercury is the planet of your mind. It's a planet of your strategies. It's the planet of how you communicate to other people. So Mercury in the 12th house, this could be a really, really fascinating transit if you do any tarot, if you are interested in mediumship or any other type of, practice, which might tap into some of your more ethereal and divine intelligence. The 12th isn't the most practical place, but it is definitely a very ethereal place. When Mercury goes retrograde in this house later in the month, which is going to be on the August 23rd, this is going to be a time of reviewing a lot of 12th house matters through Mercury. So the 12th house is also known as a house of self-sabotage. So those things that all of us do from time to kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. And when Mercury goes backwards in the 12th house, you might be reviewing a lot in your life how you have been self-sabotaging yourself. Maybe something kind of blows up in your face at one point and you think to yourself, I really set myself up for that. How can I go about things differently next time around so that I can sort of leave some of this less evolved behavior of mine behind? Now, Mercury retrograde in the 12th house, since the 12th house is a hidden place, Mercury retrograde here might mean maybe you have to go back over something you didn't say to somebody. Mercury in the 12th usually likes to keep its thoughts and ideas to itself. And sometimes there's a place for that. And sometimes you really ought to kind of speak out and voice yourself a little bit more. So those could be issues that come up by the end of the month with Mercury going retrograde in your 12th. And then finally, Mars, planet of action, the warrior archetype, also starts the month in your 12th house too. So, an emphasis in the 12th with both Mercury and Mars here for Mars a lot of the month. Again, the 12th house, that ethereal place, that house of the subconscious, Mars being a planet of drive. Well, you could be driven by much more ethereal, spiritual, and even charitable things this month. If there's anything you like to do of service to other people, donate food, donate your old clothes, you could be putting some energy and action into those types of things. I always think of Mars in the 12th house as being a really great time for doing any physical, spiritual work. Great time for getting acupuncture because Mars rules needles and sharp objects. Could be also great to do some Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, anything that really uses your body in a physical way to tap into more spiritual matters. Then by the end of the month, August 27th, Mars enters your first house. Totally different feel at the end of the month with Mars than at the beginning. Because the first house is a super direct place. It's naturally ruled by Aries, sign of Mars. Mars is comfortable here because Mars likes to be direct. And you'll find yourself being quite direct with other people by the end of the month. Mars in the first house is not afraid to stand up for its boundaries, which is always something that you could work on, Libra. You're always the nice guy or gal to other people, but sometimes it's good to put your foot down, especially with Mercury in the 12th house earlier, maybe not speaking up enough for yourself. Mars coming into the first at the end of the month will definitely remedy that. Now, Mars in the first can sometimes overly assert, be maybe a little too pushy, sometimes makes mountains out of molehills. So just realize that it's good to use this transit to assert yourself, but also be ready to tone yourself down and have a quick apology on hand with Mars in the first house.
So true.
Hi, Jamie here.
Horoscopes and moon videos are fun, but they're also really general. Did you know we run live workshops monthly and that you can get questions answered about your own chart there? This month's topic is how to get passion and commitment in one blissful package. In this workshop, you'll discover your two different types, for love and for marriage, and how to resolve them in a single, passionate, and committed relationship. If you haven't found lifelong love yet, you might want to consider attending this. This workshop is expressly for our Tier 2 Patreon subscribers. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. I'd love to see you there. Now let's get back to the video. Well, right away at the beginning of the month, we have a full moon in Aquarius right here in your 5th house. We're calling this one Big Egos Disrupt Group Nourishment. And there's an interesting semi-complex dynamic here with the sun and the moon opposed to each other, square Jupiter, which can really bring out the big personality, the overbearing qualities, the clueless, kind of qualities. And so that's a pretty strong factor during this moon. But we have some help from Ceres, which really wants to support this full moon by trining the moon and sextiling the sun and bringing in those wonderful qualities of nourishment and groundedness that Ceres is so good at. So when I say big egos disrupt group nourishment, I am noticing that this falls along the axis of self versus community. The 5th house where the moon sits could bring high emotion to your house of creativity and self-expression. It's also a house of play and entertainment and fun. I mean, on one level, this is like the hobbies that you recreate with. On another level, it's like this is the house of your personal brand. It feels so personal that way. And when the moon is full there, it's going to be an area that's laden with emotion. And it does oppose that sun landing in your 11th house of community and groups. So you might end up having a tug of war or a personality conflict. And, yours could be the big ego that disrupts the group, or it's quite possible that the group has another big ego in it and that you're trying your best to spread the attention around while that person is trying to concentrate all of the attention on themselves. So watch out for scenarios like these during the full moon right away on August 1st. Then the next thing that I want to tell you about is the new moon in Leo. Got 3 moons to report this month, actually. And so this is a new moon, which falls right here in your 11th house. Again, this is the house of community and tribe and futuristic things. It's like a laboratory in a way. We're calling this one Mending Rifts, Not Making Them. And this is a super complicated moon. It has a little bit of stress in it, but mostly harmony. So that's the good news. And it has some pretty strong healing themes and some pretty strong positive social themes, but with, a little bit of a Uranian monkey wrench thrown in there, because as you can see, Uranus over here that I was speaking of before comes in at a square angle to that sun and moon, which in your case happened to be occupying Uranus's own house. So this could be, again, a very social moon for you. And it might be about your desire to be seen in your community. It might be about other people uncomfortably grabbing attention. But what I really love about the new moon in Leo is that it's often about planting seeds of creativity. And so this could be about you forming relationships and making matches in community under this moon, and that as a creative act for you can help your own social fabric to become stronger. And then the next thing I want to talk about is the seasonal change. Couple days hence, we see the moon traveling on over into Virgo right there, August 23rd. And when the sun changes houses, when it changes signs and moves into a new house in your chart, it brings with it the sunlight of high quality attention. And that wherever you put that sunlight of attention, things can thrive and flourish. But this is almost ironic because the sun is entering the 12th house, which is kind of like hiding your light under a bushel. So there is a quality of retreat here. And it's also, if you're a sun sign Libra, it's a signal that your yearly mop-up period has begun. And that's a time when you may find yourself wanting to withdraw from the world and clean up and clear away all the projects from the previous year and begin to feel into and think towards and plan for the projects of the coming year that will be incepted around your birthday. So, and also I'd like you to notice that there was a lot of activity here in your 11th house earlier in the month, and here in the second half of the month, as the sun moves into your 12th house, just look how full and busy this is. So there's this general migration in the beginning of the month, starting with, having a very active social life and spending a lot of your time with your peeps, and then gradually shifting on into a little bit more of a reclusive and a introverted and, just craving some solitude at this point in the month. And this is a really good time for it. And it's also a really good time for forms of spiritual contemplation that might rejuvenate you. So then the last moon I want to tell you about is on August 30th. And it is, there we go. And it's a full moon and a blue moon. And a blue moon is really just a word for a moon that's the second of its kind inside of a calendar month. This is a full moon, and so it's a blue moon because it's the second full moon happening this month. This one is in Pisces, and by the way, that's a cute name. And you would find names like that in the Farmer's Almanac, but it doesn't really have a lot of astrological significance. It's just kind of fun to talk about. So this particular one is a moon in Pisces, which lands right here in your 6th house. And we're calling this one pressure to establish boundaries because this moon has a lot of factors in it that are pressing on this poor little Pisces moon and making it difficult for this moon to feel its own boundaries and to protect itself, which Pisces is not that good at in the first place. Saturn is here to help, to create structure, to help that moon hold it together. This moon is landing in your 6th house, so you might notice its effects on the job. This is a house of the systems that make life run at work and at home. And so it's a house of getting more organized, and it's a house of humble service. When the moon falls here, as a full moon especially, you can feel like emotions are running high in your workplace. And in this particular moon's case, you might even feel like other people have become really needy and that everybody wants something from you. And that you have got to sort of, pull your boundaries in around you to keep other people from absolutely draining you with all of their needs. And so this moon is a really good time to practice exactly that sort of thing.
Well, that's all for today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly Patreon workshops. Find the link in the description below to get started. Enjoy your summer, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.